This podcast is part of the Game and Entertainment Network. Visit tgenetwork.net to find the latest episodes from all our shows.
Alright, welcome to Couch Potatoes, episode number 67. I'm your host, Lane, and I'm joined by my co-host, Ari. Say hello, Ari.
What's up, people?
In lieu of a traditional discussion, this episode is going to mark the debut of a new periodical show I'd like to start doing called Actually Playing Games. That's a working title. We might change it. Who knows? But this idea is hardly new, but it's kind of something like the AgriChat guys do. They have a show thing that they call Game Club. And it's basically just their whole group of podcasters play all the same game, and then they do a further show later where they discuss it. And there's other shows too, like Return of the Retro. They do retro games specifically, but it's the same concept. Since me and Ari both tend to talk and write about games more often than we play them usually, I thought we could just have one fuel the other. Either way, we'll talk about that more in a little bit. First, we'll get down to what we've been playing. So, Ari, what's up? What have you been playing?
Stuff and things.
The usual thing.
The usual. I played a lot of Kingdom this week for some reason.
Yes, you need to do a video, because I want to know more.
Oh, yes, I've got the stuff for it. Last one I recorded the sound, but not the video for some reason. Like, I must have pressed my record button before I pressed the actual time. So I recorded before and then after I wanted it. But yeah, I ended up playing it for 5 hours just last night alone, which was insane. Like, it's more of a, just play for 20-minute kind of game, but yeah, it just had me for that long, because I got to, day 60 or something.
Sometimes those simpler games can do that.
Exactly, it's just running around, gathering gold off your little minions, and then putting it somewhere. But yeah, simple games done right. And I've been playing Secret Ponchos, which is that Western shooty thing.
Yeah.
What kind of genre is it? I don't know.
It's basically an arena shooter, but it's like twin stick, I guess. Isometric. I don't want to call it a MOBA because it doesn't have any of the resource, management. So there's less strategy. But it's just a deathmatch game, but it's isometric.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. I actually enjoy it. I've only played a couple matches so far, but the characters seem pretty cool and the combat's pretty tight. And yeah, pretty enjoyable.
Yeah, the matches I played, I just ended up getting my ass kicked. I'm not very good at it yet.
I did pretty well at mine. I got the most kills out of our two people.
I'm just not sure, because I played it with the controller, thinking because it looks like a game that would work better, and
no,
I'm not
I think
sure.
definitely mouse, because you can move your little reticle around better.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Maybe I was giving myself a disadvantage.
Kind of like Diablo-ish, I guess. You need the controller just doesn't work as well.
Yeah.
It's adequate, but not as good. And I played some Rebel Galaxy, which is like Firefly, just in a virtual game.
I heard people say that. I never watched that show, so I don't understand the reference.
It's not though. It's not the same kind of universe and the same gritty approach, or even your place isn't really the same. You're not fighting the man kind of thing, but it's just the whole vibe it gives off, the whole Western space kind of deal.
Okay. So it's like a space opera kind of thing?
Space opera kind of means bigger. This is kind of like backwater nowhere
spaghetti
space.
Western in space?
Kind of, I guess. But no, it's got decent mechanics for combat, shooting in the right areas.
What's the gameplay like? Are you just controlling a ship?
Yeah, you control a ship, kill other ships, gather stuff, complete missions, and it's pretty open and freeform, so it's pretty cool.
3D or 2D?
3D. Oh no, it looks 3D, but you're on a 2D plane.
Okay.
But the other enemies, some of them move around on a 3D plane. So, yeah. I think you don't move 3D. No, you don't.
I was just trying to figure out, because I heard of it, but I don't think I really paid too much attention, so I was just trying to get a visual. If it's top-down 2D, or if it's more you're behind the ship and it's full 3D.
Yeah, you're behind the ship, and it looks 3D, but you're only moving on one plane.
So it's like Star Fox.
Yes. Star Fox was 20 years ago? So
well, that's the best example I can think of, where it's, or Space Harrier, or those types of games where it looks like 3D because you're moving forward, but you actually can only go left and right.
Yep, that.
Okay.
And I played a technical alpha that shall remain nameless.
Ooh, me too. But we can't talk about that. Yeah, I was disappointed.
Seems like they need polish in the actual, like, shooting areas.
All of it.
Feels a bit off.
Yeah, all of it. And I like the concept. I do like the concept.
I do too.
But I don't like the limited amount of things you got to check out. So, I don't know. We'll have to see more. And we can't talk about it until the NDA gets lifted, so.
Yep.
Well, speaking of betas, I also played the closed beta of Devilian that's going on this weekend. And it's, it's a lot like Diablo, but then it also is a lot more like an MMO. It's weird. It's like, because it's got the isometric click to move, same, few key bindings. Each character is gender locked, and they're kind of dumb looking because they got the anime look to them, so not really into the...
It's funny, I really like anime, but I hate anime
games.
Visuals in games. Yeah, it just doesn't fit. I don't know why. It just doesn't suit something.
Once it goes 3D, it doesn't look right. But, I don't know. Parts the character designs are cool. Like, the guy that I'm playing kind of feels like Dante from Devil May Cry, because he's got this whip sword thing. And then other weird abilities that are kind of like the Demon Hunter in Diablo. So, I mean, it's got that same feel of Diablo, but then there's, like, the MMO elements of, like, a quest grind, basically. Which, yeah, like, ew. But at the same time, it was kind of, like, more fun doing it in a Diablo-style game than it was in an MMO-style game.
It is. I don't know why.
The question is
mindlessly
like,
clicking and killing things is so much better than actually having to think and kill and click things.
Yeah, but then the combat feels a little more... It's not that it's action-oriented, it's just that it's... the animations are more over the top than Diablo, so the guys flipping around and stuff looks more emphasized, I guess. So, I don't know. I only played one class. I leveled him to 10, playing through, a couple dozen quests that were basically just like MMO fetch and kill quests. But, I mean, it's kind of like the same quest that they put in Diablo, where it's just like, kill so many of these, kill so many of that thing, whatever. So, I mean, it's the same shit, but it just feels more MMO-ish in certain ways. Plus, you're running around in, whatever map that you're on, other people are running around it too. So they're going for the same shit, so you have those... issues with having to wait for respawns and stuff. But they did make it to where if you both attack, like, the same quest mob at the same time, or at, any point in time, you still get credit for it, so... I don't know. It's like a 2D MMO. It's weird. But it somehow works. I just... Like, there's parts of it, the dialogue and the cutscenes are kind of laugh-worthy. It's just, bad production value and whatever, but there's parts of it that are cool, so... I don't know. I don't know that it's a game that I would really get super invested in, but at the same time I could see myself playing it much like I would play Diablo in spurts.
Yeah. See, I'm saving myself for Lost Ark Online. That's like next year, probably, maybe, hopefully. But it's got all that better combat, better animations, and awesome little mechanics like open world stuff.
And it's 2D also? Or the isometric?
Isometric, yeah.
See, I like that viewpoint because it reminds me of the old CRPGs like Baldur's Gate and Icewind Dale and all of those.
You don't like or you do like?
I do like. Like, that reminds me of, like, classic RPG style. And then Diablo came out around the same time as those, and it was, like, the action-oriented or the turn-based oriented, and I liked them both.
I do too.
That's why I like games like Shadowrun, and, I mean, I'm sure I would like Pillars of Eternity. I haven't played it yet, but, those types of games appeal to me. And making Devilian kind of an MMO in that design choice... I don't know. I just like that. I think that it's an unexplored field because every time it's been isometric, it's either the really linear CRPG style or it's the action-oriented style like Diablo, but never like full-blown MMO. I mean, I guess there are some out there that exist like that, but I remember some that came out, like 10 years ago that were MMOs styled that way, just weren't good. Maybe tech has caught up to where they can do some crazy shit in a different playing field.
It really has, like, a lot of the bandwidth and these sort of things have gotten a lot better, not just with service, but just personal as well.
Yeah.
So, it seems like they can do a lot more.
Yeah, I just like seeing companies try to do different things. Although I think this is an older Korean MMO or something. It's coming from somewhere else because Tryon just importing it. So maybe it was Russian. I'm not sure. But it's not new per se, but it's new to us. So it's interesting. We'll have to see what happens with it. Otherwise, I finished my game of Civ 5 that I was playing as the Huns, and I destroyed everyone in the world, and that was great. Not really much more to say about that. And then the other day I hung out with my buddy that has consoles for days, and he got that Uncharted Nathan Drake collection. I talked about it a while back where I had started playing the first Uncharted because I had never played it before. I beat that yesterday, and that was good. I liked it just as much as the other games in the series, and I think I might even play 2 and 3 over again just to be ready for when 4 comes out, because Uncharted is one of my favorite game series.
They did it really well, though. The first kind of, a game that's more like a movie kind of thing, and they did it perfect. They weren't the first, but they did it the best, if that makes sense.
I think that they did a really good with pacing, where it's like a little cutscene and then action, puzzle, cutscene.
It's
like
not just that, it's the whole viewing from another person too, not just playing but just watching it. It's just as enjoyable, you know what I mean? Like you're yelling at this person, oh, jump there, and then you're watching the story as they uncover it kind of thing. It's really cool.
Yeah, I think it's got a really good cinematic quality. The only way that could be argued against is that there's some parts in the game that can be kind of frustrating with like combat, especially if you play it on the harder difficulties, where you can only get shot a couple times. There was a couple spots where I was like stuck on it for like an hour because I would just keep dying and dying and dying. Same with like the last boss. Like it took me probably 10 or 15 tries before I actually made through all of the little stupid events to get to the end. And then the end was like kind of anticlimactic, but anyway, it's still, yes, very good game and cool to watch.
Yeah, I don't think the combat's the point of that game though. Like, it's one game where I don't mind if people play easy. I played it easy. I don't feel like, I just want the story for that thing.
Yeah, I was just always more of a trophy hunter, so it was like hard was the hardest thing that you could beat it on the first try, and then you'd only have to play it a second time on the hardest difficulty to get the platinum or whatever. I did that with the sequel. I didn't do it with 1 or 3, but I digress. Also, he bought the Halo Master Chief Edition a while back. I've talked about it a couple times. We had beaten Halo 1 way back, and got towards the end of Halo 2, and then for whatever reason hadn't played it in forever. So the other day I was over there, and we beat Halo 2, and played through about half of Halo 3. There's still Halo 4 on the disc, and then Halo 5 just came out, and he got that too. So the only thing that sucks about that is that for whatever reason, I'm not sure if they rushed it out or what, but it doesn't have split screen co-op for the campaign, and 1 through 4 did. So it's kind of like, why not? I'm not sure if they just rushed it out or what, but graphically it looks a lot better. They patched up some of the controls to where they feel more like the traditional modern shooter with, the way the triggers are set up and stuff. Their defaults before were kind of weird. And then they added in some more maneuverability with the suit that you're wearing. It's got like a little jump pack kind of thing on it now, and so you can do some of the moves like you could in like Advanced Warfare and some of the other newer console shooters. But otherwise, I mean, it's Halo. They're all the same. It's like the same shit over and over. And the story, like...
It is, but they do it well. I really like playing Halo. Like, just with how the AI moves and reacts to you, I think that's what they kind of did well and what made the whole game more than it was.
I think, honestly, I enjoy playing the co-op campaign a lot. It's fun. But if I was playing it by myself, I think I'd be bored really quick. Because the story isn't that enthralling. You fight the same enemies in every single one, and you use the same weapons in every single one, so it's like there's really nothing new every time. Like, it seems more redundant than other shooters have been. I mean, outside of like Call of Duty, that's the same thing every year. It's kind of like the same thing, just in a sci-fi package. They did change up one thing where now it's got these you get requisition points in multiplayer matches, and then you can use those to like buy these card things that kind of give you upgrades and stuff, and it's like their version of a microtransaction cash shop. You earn points in game 2 though, so you don't necessarily have to pay real money, but if you want to get like a head start or get like the best shit right away, you can just pay for it. But that kind of leads to just like power-ups and stuff, so it's nothing that's like super major. And they also make it to where like when you're playing the game, it takes a certain amount of time, and you have to earn a certain amount of points before you can actually use the shit that you paid money for. So they tried to do something to make it balanced, but it just seems kind of tacked on and retarded. But other than that, I mean, like I said, it's if you like Halo, you'll like it. If you're kind of meh about Halo, I'd probably not waste your money. But yeah, that's all I got.
Awesome.
Halo is boring.
Hater.
At least I can say that I've, done it. I can say I played it, so I can bitch about it.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I say you can bitch about something you don't play, but that's just me.
Oh, I was going to ask you, I could have sworn that you were kind of hyped about Black Desert, and I've been seeing people talk about that. Isn't it in beta or something?
I was hyped for it a while ago, and then that kind of died.
Why?
Because it's going the path of Arcade. It really makes me sad. They had this beautiful sandbox world, integrating PvP into it, like controlling and capturing castles. Just some random ganking as well. A beautiful open world like trading system that you could fight over as well, and now that's just this PvE theme park just without all the PvE endgame. That's it. I don't understand that. Like, everyone's hyped for this new sandbox game. Like, oh my god, it's doing something at least a little bit different than what we've got now. No, let's fuck that. Scratch all this hype and create a normal theme park, just with a prettier combat system. I don't understand why.
Yeah, I don't understand how people seem to get hyped for like the same game over and over again. I mean,
it wasn't the same game. It didn't used to be the same game. It used to be its own game. But didn't they watch like arcades just like flop easily, both in the West and in the East? Like, they would have had time to see that happening, and yet they still made the same dumb design decisions. It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand. Like, yeah, it used to be what developers did to get that path of most population, most profit, that kind of stuff. But looking at it now, it's pretty damn obvious that it's not the best path to take.
I think what they
Not
do,
the profitable path.
what seems like it's happening with most MMO developers, it's like they come up with some kind of catchphrase or gimmick or whatever that brings in like the hardcore that really want that, and then they in turn kind of help spread its popularity, I guess. And then the company slowly goes towards what the majority wants, and the bigger it gets, it kind of snowballs, and eventually you have the same.
The majority didn't want it this time. They didn't want it. Like, all the hype surrounding it was for its open world elements, and they done fucked it up. Like, yeah, the PvE crowd will go and clamor over it. Oh, why isn't it PvE? Why do we have to deal with PvP people? Why isn't there enough like endgame PvP raids and dungeons and blah 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 blah? But they do it in every game, and you know how long they last? A month. And that's it. Then they fucking leave anyway. Like, you're better off going for a crowd that actually wants your game, wants it as it is, and that will stick around for far longer. So I could really rant about that again and again for like hours on end, but yeah, let's move on. I want a decent freaking like open world sandbox game.
Alright, so as I mentioned in the intro, we are going to be doing a periodical series called Actually Playing Games. And basically it's just me and Ari playing a game. We're going to go through some caveats about that, and then later on, at some other point in time, we'll come back to talk about the game that we choose and have played, and we'll just go into it, and then from there we'll make another choice, and this can go on for foreseeably however long we keep doing this show.
Basically, it's a regular podcast talking about games.
Yes, because sometimes we get heavy just talking about topics, and we've touched on some subjects that people don't necessarily like to talk about. And, sometimes we just gotta remember that the whole reason we started a gaming podcast was to talk about games, and you probably noticed that recently we've kind of started stretching out our what we've been playing segments and having lesser in-depth conversations, because sometimes it's hard to continuously come up with something new to talk about. Sometimes the well runs dry and you gotta recharge, and sometimes you just gotta play some games. So, figure if we play some games, we'll have something to talk about for a full-length show, and, that knocks one less thing off the list that we gotta think of later. So, just to give, some basis on how we're gonna make the choice, and guidelines for ourselves while thinking about what we might play. You own a PS3, right? I know you don't play it,
yes.
But... Okay, so... we both own a PC and a PS3. So those would be the two platforms that we would choose from, so that we might have the same game. I would hope that we already own the game. I know we both have big backlogs, and I'm sure that there's some games that we both have. If not, there's free-to-play titles out there, or betas. We both are in the closed beta. That could be something we could play, but we can't talk about that, so can't use that one. If it's something that you bought a while back, you played for an hour or two, and then you decided that you didn't want to play it, or you didn't like it for some reason, or it's just something you got distracted from and haven't come back to, that's cool. But you shouldn't have beaten it. And then I figure we can just take notes or screenshots, video, whatever, just so that way we could maybe share it on the webpage with the podcast when it releases.
Will do.
Something like that, so that we can have something else to also kind of bring it back up in your memory, and then...
So playing and talking about the games we play together.
Right.
Wrapped up in 1 second. Done.
So yeah, that's basically the criteria for choosing a game. So I took it upon myself to make a short list, but you said that you also had a few games that you could think of off the top of your head.
Well, not off the top of my head, off my desktop.
There you go.
That are sitting there, unplayed.
Right.
Never opened. But
yes.
Yeah.
So I have a list of games that I've either only gotten a little ways in, or haven't really touched much at all. And they're always games that I've gotten on sale, and then ended up just not playing, or said, okay, well, I'm going to save that one until after I beat this one, and then you just never get back to playing it. I've got games that I bought probably 2-3 years ago that I still haven't played, especially on my PS3. So, you go first. What's one of the ones that you can think of that you would want to play that you haven't beaten?
The Vanishing of Ethan Carter.
I do not own that. we're gonna have to go off this checklist pretty fast, I guess. Dragonfall, the Shadowrun sequel. Do you have that one?
Nope.
Damn it! You have.
I didn't like Shadowrun.
You had the first one, though, didn't you?
I did have the first one, but I didn't really like it.
I already beat the first one anyway. I have not beaten the sequel. Do you have any Amnesia?
Nope. I don't play horror games.
Oh. Well, they gave that one out for free on Steam a month ago.
I don't play horror games. I watch horror games, but I don't play them, so.
Okay.
Even watching a Twitch of the park the other day gave me fucking nightmares.
Scared you.
Seriously. Yeah,
don't
totally.
you like horror movies, though?
Nope.
No? Oh.
Nope. I'm the kind of person with their feet up off the off the floor, wrapped around with my hands, and peeking through my fingers. That's how I watch scary stuff.
Oh. I didn't know. For somebody that's so vicious in PvP...
Vicious is different.
You're okay with eviscerating things in games, but you don't want to see...
Yes. No, it's just that whole tension... I don't know, it's different, okay?
Okay. Okay. Give me something else.
7 Days to Die?
I don't have that. I don't know. I wonder if we'll even have any of these games. I just figured that there was something on our backlog that we both have. Well, what about Dark Souls? Did you beat that?
No, I never went back to it.
How far did you get?
Uh,
I mean, did you beat a lot of guys, or...
the gargoyles went down. I think I made it down into that underworld area. You know, the sewers.
I never even beat a single boss on that, so I haven't...
Ah.
I only have 84 minutes played.
I know, yeah, I got way further than that. Oh, not way further. The game's actually pretty long and pretty big, but I did get quite a few bosses, a number of bosses down.
Well, that's one at least. One possibility. So I'm going to write that down here. Because you haven't beaten it, at least. And we both own it. And that's something I've been wanting to play through anyway. Do you have Divinity? Divinity, the original sin.
Oh, yeah.
You do have that?
Yep. Played a little bit of it, put it down, didn't like it.
Yeah, I didn't ever beat it either.
It was way too text story heavy for me.
Well, yeah, that's how old school games were.
You're
just not into that anymore, huh?
I do like some game stories. I do, and I really get interested in them, and I'll play the game specifically for them, but it just wasn't one of those games.
That must have been how you felt about Shadowrun as well, then, huh?
No, I like Cyberpunk enough to get through that.
Oh.
I just didn't like the combat and class system. It just didn't feel like there was enough options when you were actually attacking. You know what I mean? Not enough, like, customization there.
Alright.
And it didn't feel like a very good combat system, I should say.
Fair enough. Yeah, Divinity I think I will like. I just haven't gone back. But they just recently did an enhanced edition, which I'm not sure exactly what's enhanced. But if you own the game, you can get it for free. Supposedly they changed some of the stuff around. I'm not sure.
We could just both play Secret Ponchos together and talk about that.
That's another
Both
possibility.
haven't played much of it.
That is another possibility. Oh, another one. I know that one was free to play. Was that Relic Hunter Zero? That was co-op too, wasn't it?
Yeah. No, I don't think it's co-op. It is co-op, but like same computer co-op.
Okay. Well, it is still something that we could both play, because I only played it for like 15 minutes. I'm sure there's more to it than that. Or was that one permadeath? I don't remember. Either way.
Yes.
I figure we can end up doing something like a traditional...
We could do a show on permadeath. We done that yet?
No, we haven't.
Because we talk about it fairly often, permadeath.
You don't have Borderlands, the pre-sequel?
Nope.
No.
I could get it, though.
It was on sale when I got it. It came with the season pass and stuff, but then...
And you haven't played it?
I played it for about an hour.
We'll chuck it in there. I'll grab it then, when we want to do it.
Well, we have to decide what we're going to play, and it doesn't have to be just a week. I mean, we can do it where it's a whole month. I mean, if it's a long game and it takes us a while, we'll just come back to it whenever we've beaten it or, gotten through most of it. In a game like, the Relic Hunters, because that's, I think, I don't remember if that has permadeath or not, but I remember
Yes, it does.
Yeah, okay, so that's not a game that you necessarily will beat, but you can at least talk about the experience. Because I figure we could do something like a traditional review, but we'll start with just what our impressions were, talk about different things or whatever, and then we could just be like, yeah, so I give the graphics. We don't have to score it, but just say like graphics were good, sound was great, whatever, blah blah blah, and then give our overall, like thumbs up, thumbs down kind of thing. So same with Secret Ponchos. That's not really, I think there's a story for each character, but I mean that's not the kind of game you beat either. Okay, well, so do we want to look at some free-to-play titles maybe? Or just take one of these and run with it?
Yep. Do that.
Well, which one is more appealing to you?
Let's do Secret Ponchos. It's current.
Okay, so after some deliberation and a short list of potentials, I guess we're going to run with Secret Ponchos. And we will play that. That one's a shorter game. There's not really a storyline or anything, so we'll probably just try to get together and play it a bit here and there throughout the week, and maybe we'll talk about more of that next week. If not, maybe the show after. So we'll come back to that later. For now, just to fill out and round out this episode, I came up with the idea to do this prior to us recording this episode. It was actually some sub-notes that we had written thinking that Dune was going to record with us, and then, or I thought he wasn't going to show up, and then he did show up, yada yada. So because we ended up doing this show later than I had previously anticipated, we both ended up with a game at the same time, the new Warhammer game, Vermitide, and we've both been playing the shit out of it over the course of the last week. So we figured we could just kind of talk about that a little bit, our overall impressions of the game and stuff, and this will give you kind of a sample of what further shows of this nature will be like. So, what is your initial thoughts with Vermitide? What do you like about it?
I like killing rat men.
That is fun, yes.
Their body parts fall funny.
I love the attention to detail that they placed on the combat, because I've actually seen it where I was using an axe and lopped the head off of one of the rat men, and he actually like touched his bare neck, like looking for his head, and then falls over. I've also seen them die where they had been climbing up the side of a wall, and they die and hang by their arm that's like stuck on something and just flop around. And it's just, I mean, it's gross. It's gruesome.
I got to
it's
launch
bloody,
one once as well. That was pretty funny. I don't know what happened, but we were all whacking this like one Skaven, and he hit the ground and then kind of bounced off onto a roof somewhere.
Yeah, like, yeah, and then like how you can push them off the walls and stuff. Like,
I love doing that.
The physics engine is really robust. So how do you feel about the progression?
I think I want to start with the combat.
Okay.
Talking about, because that's like the main meat, and while I feel like could be better, I think it's adequate for what you want to do. Like, I feel like there could be more of an emphasis on how you're swinging your weapon. You know what I mean? Like right now, you're just like madly clicking stuff, and that's kind of it, which works. But I don't know. I think that could be better.
Well, there is a slight emphasis in that if your cursor or your crosshairs are to the right of an enemy, you will swing from the right, and if it's more to the left, you will come across with a left swing.
I did not know that.
It's noticeable only if you do like a strafing movement, like what I try to do, especially playing the Witch Hunter. He starts with rapier, but then later gets a one-handed axe. But he's always axe, and then or sword, you know, like a one-handed weapon or a two-handed weapon, and then has pistols as his ranged weapon. So with him, you kind of have to do this. Like, I don't know, it's hard to explain, especially with the rapier because of the hold down, you know, the hard strike when you hold down the mouse button.
Yeah.
He would do like a stab, and then you could do it repetitively, but you had to, like, you know, long hold and then let go, and then long hold and let go repetitively, and then he would do like these several different stabs. So with the stab motion, what I would do was hold down the button so that he was holding back his stab, then rush straight into a group of them, stab the first one, and then kind of back up a little bit, because you can use the little dash move that each character can do. And you like dash backwards, and then kind of would do like an arcing like half circle around them, and you would notice that when you were going left, you were always swinging that way, and when you were going right, you'd be coming back the other way. And if you kind of just bob back and forth, your combo seems to work more effectively, because sometimes the hitboxes get weird because of the fact that they're all mobbed together and, you know, animations everywhere. The hitboxes get confused, so it's like sometimes it'll swing and you just totally whiff, and you're like, dude, that should have hit him. So there's some lacking bits of it, but it seems it depends on like what kind of maneuvers you're making, on top of how often you're. If you just spam the button, they'll go through the several animations, you know, even though there's nothing there anymore. But if you click the button more methodically and like time it, kind of like auto attacking would work on a specific, you know, 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. You know, that kind of thing will actually balance out the animations and make it to where you're doing it more effectively. At least that's the way it seems. But
yeah, like I get the animations, and like it does feel right in aspects, and it even feels like it has a lot of, you know, that tactile sensation to it where it's really hitting the mob kind of thing.
Yeah, it's visceral.
But I just feel like they could have made that combat a little bit better. Maybe like a couple more special abilities you could have used with the cooldown, I guess. But that would have changed the game style. But you wouldn't rely on them. But there just needs to be something there to break it up a little bit.
In that case, though, I mean, I see where you're going with that, and I like the idea of like each person having something different. They do have that to some degree, just because of the way you can change out your items.
Yeah, but going between like all the melee people, it just feels like the same, like playing the dwarf compared to playing the soldier. It just feels too the same.
Yeah.
I feel like that could have differentiated it better. But overall, I do like just it's simple, but it's like it's the simple stuff that kind of draws you in. It's not like complex, complicated, constantly thinking. It's just brain shuts off, swing shit, kill stuff, and feel rewarded.
And it's got the same feeling of Diablo. The only thing that I don't like is the looting system at the end. I mean, I realize that the whole point is so that you have to continuously play, so that you can eventually get better stuff and beat the game on harder difficulties and stuff like that. I understand the progression and the thought process that goes behind it, but at the same time, it's kind of annoying that you can go through and collect all the tomes in a level and get extra dice and have a shitload of dice to roll in that dice game, and you still only get one, and then you get a crappy white item that you can't use. It gets annoying fast.
I've become more complacent with it. Like, that's just a part of the game. And I don't mind the whole RNG at the end. You know, what am I going to get? It's kind of exciting, you know, unwrapping your present kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then they need to balance out that amount of disappointment. Like, I've never rolled a high number so far, and I've got quite a few games under my belt. I've never got a blue off a roll.
I did once. And it was a... No, I'm sorry. I have gotten it twice. And both times it was a roll of 5.
I've gotten one, or like just one roll, or even none sometimes. Far more than I've gotten all of them, which just tells me that, you know, the probability balance isn't there.
Yeah, it's... And then supposedly, if you play on hard, because I know I beat the first level on hard, one of the people in my group got an orange off of playing on hard. So I guess that's how you get better gear, is you eventually get all greens and blues, and then you go up in the harder difficulties. So, I mean, it has the same Diablo sense where, like, you don't really start getting good gear until you get into the harder difficulties or end game kind of thing. I'm not sure about the level progression. I think I'm 13 or something like that now, and I'm not sure what the cap is, but I've seen people in their 20s. And I'm not sure that
I don't think there is a cap.
There might not be, but I know that each time you go up a level, you get a random white item.
Yeah.
But I would hope
that's the other thing. They don't explain the whole gearing process well enough. Like, we've got so many little spots that even at like 15, I still don't have anything for, and I don't know where to get like trinkets and stuff.
Yeah, I have not seen anything about that. And I've also heard
does that drop earlier, or does it drop later, or how do you get it? It just doesn't explain it as well as it should.
I've also heard that the helmets, like hat gear or whatever, headgear, drops in the game, but I've not seen that. All I've seen is loot dice.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe you have to get up higher level to get trinkets. I know that the collector's edition gave 2 trinkets and a hat for every class, but that didn't seem like enough to justify paying for it. So I think the hats might just be appearance only. That's like the only way you can customize the character.
I think they are. Well, some of them are. Like, I was watching a stream, it looked like some of them do stuff, but you can have cosmetic ones as well.
Yeah, and trinkets, I mean, I don't know how you get them. I haven't seen anybody with them, or if they have them, I don't know it. I don't know if it increases stats or just has little procs, kind of like the, special utility passives on items. If it's the same kind of deal, or I have no idea. But I guess we'll find out. So clearly we haven't played it enough to know the ins and outs of the game, but you still basically get the full breadth of what it offers, within a few places.
I like it enough that I'm actually researching that stuff, though. Like, I'm actively looking up where to get the tombs and, like, the grimoires. So I know when I'm playing a mission where to get them, get the most dice and all that stuff. And for a quick, meaningless co-op game, that's a pretty good point, actually wanting to learn more.
Yeah, it has that, like we've said with a couple things today, things being simple and sometimes being more captivating because of it. It does have that same, like, oh, let's just play one more round, like Diablo does.
I think there's something where after you've, got used to and optimized that whole simplistic approach, you start looking for more if you still enjoy it.
Yeah.
New ways to, boost up the experience, make it harder, just learn more about it. So.
Well, from what they say, they're going to add new missions and new characters. So
Chaos! Chaos is going to be the next expansion.
You saw that already?
Yeah.
I have not seen that.
They were talking about it in a podcast or some interview thing where Chaos is going to be the next one. And then who was the expansion afterwards? I forget now, but someone.
Did they say anything about price points?
Undead was the one after that. No, they didn't say anything price points, but
I wonder if it's going
I'm
to take
really
place in the
interested
same city and like there's just going to be those monsters coming at you, or if the missions will take place in other places.
I'm guessing they'll do new maps, but as for a new location, I don't know, probably. Because the whole story is about the whole Chaos Gods banding up and trying to destroy humanity, and that's never happened before. So you've got the Horn Rat with Slaanesh and Nurgle all fighting to kill humanity. That's a good foundation for a endless, battle arena.
Yeah, well, the game's already a good foundation. I mean, the graphics, I thought in some screenshots and things I had seen before that they would be kind of muddy and not really that great.
Yeah, I think they must
really
have updated it and polished it with a few patches when it released. Because beforehand, it did look kind of washed out. The textures weren't great. Animation seemed a bit jumpy, but that might just be that person playing. But now it just looks really, really good in game. I don't know. I don't think videos give it justice, but actually being in game, it feels really, really good. It looks good. And there's just so much detail in the maps too, with where they've hidden tomes, secret passes. And I was in like the sewer network the other day doing that mission, and I went a completely different pathway to the end. I couldn't get over it. Like, it was just different. Like the paths we always gone, I just went left instead of right once, and it ended up going to the same, objective points. But other than that, it was like going through a completely different map. So there's a lot of depth and, just interesting detail there.
I also noticed that there's no slowdown. It doesn't seem like I never was really monitoring my frames per second the entire time, but it doesn't ever seem to slow down, despite having tons of shit.
Hundreds of enemies sometimes. Yeah, it is very well optimized. And I have to say that about the multiplayer too. A lot of games for me, you get the stutter, you get the lag, you get the rubber banding, and that's just being in Australia, But here, it just played so well. Like, my hits still felt like they were hitting properly. Sometimes, like, a few UI choices would take a bit longer to register, but my actual attacking and combat just felt perfect.
Yeah, I didn't really notice lag between us.
But that's the thing, there's no, like, dedicated servers either. It's all, like,
peer-to-peer.
Peer-to-peer. Yet they've got it working so well. Like, I haven't played any other peer-to-peer game that feels this polished, feels this smooth, and plays that well.
It may be just because there's less players. Because there's only 4 people at a time, rather than it being 5-on-5 or whatever.
But Left 4 Dead didn't play that well, and that's kind of the same thing. And there's a lot of other co-op and stuff games that don't play that well either. And then you've got all these physical objects running around that have to relay to you active time as well as your actions on them. And the actions of your party members. So that's a lot of information to keep on going around, and it's just perfect. They're wizards here.
Yeah.
They've cast some magic on this to make it work properly.
Yeah, their framework is exquisite. Definitely.
What do you dislike about it, I should say?
Well, I have seen some bugs, and for the most part they're humorous, but, like, for instance, the other day we were playing that level where you have to guard the wells, and it was at one point a hook rat had grabbed one of you, or no, I think maybe it was an assassin that had jumped on somebody. One way or the other, somebody was down, and you know how it'll outline them in red, so you can see them more clearly amongst the chaos, so you can know you got to get over there and help them. So I'm running towards them. I think it was you, but it may have been somebody else. And whoever it was though, they were down by the well. And as I ran towards the well, their model actually went under the ground and went farther away to where it was under this house that you couldn't even enter. Like there's that little hut off to the side. And it actually gone underneath there, and so I'm chasing the person who's captured, trying to rescue them, and then somebody else who wasn't seeing the bug actually went over and rescued whoever it was, and they went up, and then all of a sudden that outline disappeared, but it was funny. So
I've seen a few things with the assassins like that where they'll jump on someone, or even you, and they'll launch you 20 feet into the air, and then you'll come down again.
Or even just where they're way out of range of where they can jump to, but they come flying at you from across the level, and you're just like, what the fuck? This is just a flying assassin rat.
That's scary, man. I even heard you jump at one.
The rat ogres are the scariest, though. Those things are fucking ridiculous.
I still think they need to balance some of the enemies better. I feel like there should be some enemies in between, say storm vermin and the normal vermin. But then I think those whole pack rats are overpowered for what they are because they just grab you and run, and they've got so much health. So sometimes I can't even kill them with 1 or 2 hits, with my shotgun, and that's just way too much. Like, especially when they're completely controlling another player.
Yeah, the gas rats.
Like with the assassin, it's
too.
like 1 hit and they go down, or they run away. But pack rats, yeah, you really have to focus on them, and they do a ton of damage on their own. And then if they put you up in the pole, they can grab someone else. And I've seen parties wiped out like that where they're not fast enough getting someone free the first time, and then they'll go and save them, and that person will get trapped, and the next person comes along and they get trapped. It's just ridiculous.
Or you're all down, and then you have a complete noob to the game that doesn't even realize that they have to go get you back up.
Yeah, that's some of the. I don't know. I think people will learn over time, but playing with other people can be frustrating.
Yeah, I can forgive someone who's just started the game and doesn't really understand. They're rank 1 or 2, you're like, okay, I'll give you a couple rounds to figure this shit out. But when they're level 20 already and they still aren't paying attention, it's annoying. It's like, dude, you've played enough of this, you should know what's going on. That's probably one of the biggest downsides for me, is just playing with people you don't know. Not because I have a problem with that, because I'll do pugs and I play randoms and every competitive game I've ever played, but because this is co-op and you're dependent on their skill level kind of keeping you in the game, it can be kind of frustrating. The other negative, I think, for me is just like I was talking about with the rolls with the dice. It's kind of annoying. I accept it as being the way the game works.
I think there should be a fixed loot reward at the end as well as that. You know what I mean? Like, that way at least you're getting a bonus and it would feel better. Oh yeah, I've already got this after feeding this mission. Like, the harder you go, the better that loot's going to be. Make that random as well, but definite, and then have that as an extra roll to get extra loot kind of thing. I think that would feel better.
Well, either that or they could do some changes to the crafting system, because I'm okay with the fact, okay, so you get 5 whites that you're not using, you fuse them into a green, but then you get a green that you already have, so then you have to wait till you have 5 greens and do the same thing to get a blue. And like, I understand that they need they need to stretch it out, because
the part you get from that is random as well. Like, you can't really determine what blue you're going to get, and so then you get one from, a character you don't even like or don't even play. That sucks when you've saved up all this loot and then you get something you're not even going to use because you don't like that character.
I mean, for the most part, I think all the characters are pretty decent, but my least favorite is the mage character. I just don't like the whole magic system because you're constantly catching on fire and having to vent yourself, and it's annoying. And the dwarf is kind of just blah, boring.
I'm okay with the mage because she does a lot of damage in her own right, especially to the armored and the rat ogre.
Yeah.
So it kind of balances out that you have to vent this destructive power.
No, I know, because they don't have to worry about ammo. I get that.
That too.
It just doesn't. I don't like the playstyle. The witch hunter is my favorite by far, and then I think probably the elf after that. I like the bow. She shoots really fast with the bow and arrow, and I like having the pistols. The blunderbuss on the other guy is okay, but it just.
You've seen me wreck whole groups with that, so it's fine.
I like it on you just fine. I just don't like it personally. I like the other guy because he's so much faster. He's just more nimble and gets in and out, and he reminds me more of like a traditional thief or assassin type class, and that's usually the kind of classes that I'm attracted to.
That's what I think. I think they really need some extra classes.
Yeah, well, they've said
because right now with the matchmaking system, I really don't like how you can only play a character in a multiplayer match that's not already there. So you'll see a lot of those popular classes like that ranger, like your witch hunter, always be taken. You know what I mean? And you have to like switch out sometimes. Yet the not-like characters like mine, I've never had to change like that soldier. I just get into a match and that's it. Like, I think that could work better. And if they had more characters, it would be a lot easier to work around with that system. But just with 6 out of the 5 you need, I don't know, it feels a bit clumsy in that aspect. And yeah, like, I feel like you could build these characters in a more RPG sense as well sometimes. But I guess that's the gear.
I wouldn't really want to go so far as to like starting to add stats and make it into a total RPG, because I do like it the way it is. I just think that they would benefit from having a little more diversity in classes. I mean, you have the same basic formula. Everybody carries a melee weapon and a ranged weapon, but they can have
like the skills I was talking about. Then you can like pick a skill sometimes, like just your one skill to use as well.
Well, they could also go farther and to add like a Templar type class. He'd still be able to rock a sword and shield, but could have as a ranged weapon, like a healing staff or something, and it would be the same
Yeah.
kind of energy that the mage has, but could do healing, minor healing. You know, it wouldn't be like overpowered, but just it would, in addition
It kind of
to
needs some
having,
different roles and stuff, and that could come with characters, like you said, a
like
healing character,
utility.
but maybe also like a CC character too.
Right,
Like
yeah,
you get a
like
lot of that.
utility, where you could mez like a group of little ratlings. Like it wouldn't work on the elites, but it would work on like the ratlings, so you could like at least
Yeah, like
control
shut
part
down
of
a
them.
whole block of them for like a certain amount of time. I think that would be a lot more, make the game a lot more strategic too. Like someone blocking up top, someone's like CCing big groups to, herd and kill. I think that'd be fun. And yeah, for that to happen, I think they need more characters, more
and
playable
then
characters.
diversity in the weapons too, because like, I mean, I'm obviously not super experienced, but with the time that we've spent with it, like the witch hunter, he starts with a rapier, and then later I got a one-handed axe, and then I had seen two-handed weapons, and that seems to be the standard for everyone. It's like some kind of one-handed weapon, a sword and board, or a two-hander.
Yeah,
And
like
then
have
that's
some
it.
pikes and halberds and stuff like that too.
Yeah, so you could get range, or then like the mage has different staves that do different things, because there's the one that has like an AoE, and then there's one that has an AoE burst, and one that shoots a beam, and other stuff like that. So I mean, they get a little bit of diversity there, but
They
it's like
do.
the witch hunter gets dual pistols or like a repeater pistol, and that's all I've seen. And then like the dwarf is like a crossbow or like a shotgun type thing, and then the other guy's a blunderbuss or a different type of samey kind of gun. And then the with the elf, it's just like bow and arrow all the time. Well, you could get it to where there's like, I have seen where one of them seems to be like a snaring arrow or something like that from the elf. So I mean, maybe there will be other types that they'll add in at some point. You could have flaming arrows or something else that would give it some more flair. If they're, because I don't see them adding in a whole skill system, because they would have to change around so much. But it has room for growth, and they're already talking about expansions and other classes and more items
And new
stuff,
enemies,
so.
that's going to be cool.
Yeah, so I think that there's a lot of potential here, and if they do it right and keep it simple but have some depth there, I could foresee it lasting for a lot longer than you would expect for a game like this. Particularly a $30 game. Usually, you expect bigger budget and crazier stuff from AAA $60 games, and this seems to be on that level without the price point. But I guess that just comes down to whether or not the DLCs are going to be super expensive.
I think they'll be around the same cost because it seems like they'll add just as many maps. So
if they give us the same exact amount of content for another $30, I would pay it. If it's a little bit less content, then a $10 or $15 price point would probably be more accurate. But I just don't want to see where they're like, okay, here's a new character for $5, and then you nickel and dime you $5 for every character.
Yeah, I hate that. Yeah, I'd rather pay an upfront large cost for a bigger content patch than.
Yeah, like give me a whole nother city with another 12 maps with a boss at the end, and one or two more classes. I'll pay you $30.
One thing I have to say that it does better than Left 4 Dead is the whole horde approach. Like Left 4 Dead, yeah, you got the zombies, but it doesn't feel that many sometimes. But here, like, getting absolutely surrounded by, like, 50 or so vermin that are jumping over walls, coming out of the ceilings, coming up holes, like, that stuff is intense. And I don't know, it feels really cool in the moment to see this, like, giant rat horde, running for you.
Well, and then there's bits of humor and stuff sprinkled in there, too, because some of the stupid shit that your characters say, or the rats say, or just the sound effects they use so you know an assassin's coming, or the rat ogre's coming, and
there's a assassin hide in the shadows. That stuff freaks you out, man. Like if I hear that sound, I'm like, get the gun out. Fuck, where is it? Where is it?
And then sometimes, yeah, I just like how they have like, some of those claustrophobic level, like the rat ogre in that hedge maze. That was ridiculous.
Yep.
Like that's some scary shit right there.
And you always get chased by him too. It's kind of funny. You're running around going shit, 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 shit. I'm trying to follow you with my gun, getting a few shots off. Stay still, damn it.
Yeah, there's no real good way to handle that guy unless you have a
dodge
space.
backwards.
Even then, just getting away from him is tough. Like somebody else has to take aggro. That's another thing that they could have too. Like
Better aggro.
I know that the shield bash thing, the push is supposed to be like a taunt, and it's supposed to kind of work like a taunt, but it doesn't work effectively all the time.
No.
Because otherwise you'd be able to walk up and everybody could just keep doing that. It would just turn around in circles and not ever do anything. But yeah, I don't know. Overall, I'd say that it's probably it's contender for me for game of the year. It's one of the best games I've played all year, definitely.
I would almost have to agree there too.
The year's not up though,
No.
so we'll see. But
Fallout 4's coming out.
So I think we both agree that we give it our stamp of approval.
Yes. The Ares Murderous Rampage stamp of approval.
So if anybody has the game and would be interested in playing it, or if you're now convinced that you want to pick it up, you can drop us a line. We're both on Steam pretty regularly, and we'll definitely be down for some extra co-op partners. Because yes, randoms suck. That does it for this week's edition of Couch Potatoes. We hope you enjoyed it, and we hope that you'll continue to join us. Couch Potatoes can be found on Twitter at Couch Potatoes, and on Anook at anook.com/blog/couch-potatoes. Music credits, other places you can find us, and pertinent links discussed on the show can be found in the show notes. Thanks for listening. We're going to get back to gaming now, so we'll see you next week.